Hello everyone! I'm Caitlin Teeter, and on today's Teeter Tales, I'm going to be doing a review of The Unwanteds, a middle grade fantasy series by Lisa McMann. For this review, I'm going to be covering almost the entire series. I've actually not read the last book in this series, but I'll be covering the other 6. I'll try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, though my content guide section will have a few spoilers in it. Let's go ahead and get started. The story begins with 13-year-old twins Aaron and Alex on the day of the Purge, a ceremony in which those in Quill are sorted into categories of either wanted, necessary, or unwanted. Creativity of any kind is forbidden in Quill, an island governed by strict enforcement of order and efficiency. Aaron is chosen as wanted, however, Alex is sent away with the rest of the Unwanteds to be disposed of. Alex and the Unwanteds are secretly taken to a hidden part of the island where all of the other Unwanteds live, training in their creativity and the powers that come with it. While the writing of this series isn't necessarily distinct, it's still well executed and tells its story in an efficient way. Not every book has to have a unique voice, and McMann uses enough description to really paint the scenes that she's portraying without getting bogged down in all of the little details. I appreciate how McMann often gives both the outside events, this is a third-person series, but also will give a character's thoughts so that you have both the perspectives of the characters but can still easily understand what's going on around the characters. For the most part, I didn't find myself getting that invested in the majority of the characters in this series. While Alex and his friends all had distinct personalities, there wasn't much to make me personally invested in them as individuals. That's not to say I didn't care about their stories. McMann created interesting tensions around each of these characters, so that even if I wasn't invested in, say, Alex as an individual, I still really wanted to see how his story would play out. While I wasn't super invested in the human characters, I did really enjoy many of the other characters in this series. Characters like Cimber, Octavia, and Clive were some of my favorites throughout these books. Having these fantastic or magical characters made The Unwanted stand out as a series, because you had characters that could be serious like Cimber, or characters that could be comical like Clive. While I did find the human characters to be lacking at times, the non-human characters brought plenty of personality to these books. This is probably the element in which The Unwanteds is at its strongest. The Unwanteds has both an interesting setting and a magic system that makes it stand out from other fantasy series. All magic in this series is based around creativity. Activities such as writing, drawing, acting, and sculpting all have their own powers, and the better someone is at one of those activities, the stronger their magic. This made for a really interesting approach to fantasy, as different creative expressions have their own rules to their magic system. It was really fun getting to see how painting a perfect replica of a door could create essentially a portal to its real counterpart, how origami creatures could be deployed for quick attacks, and how singing could stop someone in their tracks. There's also a mix of mythical creatures and ones that are entirely made up for this series. It's explained as mythical creatures just naturally exist in this world, while the made-up ones are created by those in the world with magic. The setting of the series is also engaging. All the books take place on a set of islands, and each island essentially has one key characteristic that sets it apart from the others. One might be home to pirates, another might have a volcano, and even the lands of Quill and Arteme are set on their own island. Throughout the books, McMann introduces lots of different elements that help expand her world, and it really feels like you're getting to explore this place alongside the characters. I didn't actually read the last book of this series, Island of Dragons, because the 6th book seems like it wrapped up almost all of the plot lines really well. And when I looked into it, it seemed like the last book in this series was more a means of setting up her second series set in the same world, which I didn't have an interest in reading. Even though I didn't read the last book in this series, I did still really enjoy and was entertained by the other 6 books. The Unwanteds largely tells an overarching story. While each individual book does have its own tensions and problems to solve, the core focus of this series is the inherent conflict between Quill and Arteme. I appreciate that this line was kept consistent throughout the books, even as McMann was able to include other side plots. The series does really feel like one cohesive story. While the pacing was generally well done, there were a few points where I felt like this series slowed down. The first book doesn't have as much action as some of the others, but I thought that made sense because McMann is having to do a lot of establishing of characters and the world and the magic. My main critiques of the pacing come with the Island of Silence and the Island of Shipwrecks. Plotlines relating to both of these islands slowed the story down a lot. While I never felt like quitting the series, it could be very frustrating to have these slow portions where it felt like things were being needlessly drawn out. I want to clarify that it has been several years since I have read this series, and as such, my memory of all of the events and content in this series may not be entirely accurate. However, I'll do my best to talk about the content that I do recall being in this series. The main concern for this series would probably be the violence. I didn't find it to be that gory or graphic, but there are a few moments sprinkled throughout the series that could be disturbing. There's one moment later in the series, this is a light spoiler, where there is a group of people who has magical thorn necklaces embedded painfully into their necks. Other than that, the violence is pretty standard for fantasy. Again, I'm going to be giving some vague spoilers here, but many characters do die throughout this series, so especially for younger readers, they might not be able to handle that as well. The sexual content of this series is never intense, but it does have light romance pop up pretty frequently. Most of the human characters do fall in love at some point in this series, so you'll have boys being thought of as cute or handsome and girls being thought of as pretty or beautiful. There's also some hand-holding, occasional kissing, and general displays of affection. This series is full of magic, but it's very much grounded in creativity. Magic comes from various artistic displays rather than having any sort of spiritual source. As I said, it has been several years since I read this series, and I don't recall anything like profanity or any other content like that being in the series. Unwanteds, while not one of my favorite series, was still a very enjoyable set of books and made very good use of its unique magic system and engaging world building. I actually listened to the audiobooks when I went through this series, and while each of the readers did a great job, it was kind of distracting having different readers for different books. This was a fun series that I would definitely recommend to anyone who likes seeing series where they like to play with the magic systems and take their time to explore the world that's been set up. The creatures and adventures throughout the series made for a very memorable set of fantasy books. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching. Bye!